My name is Roger Johnson. I like taking pictures and I love to travel. Whether it's working as a professional tour guide, a flight attendant, or on my own for fun. Across America or around the world. This is my show. Hello and welcome once again to another Roger Johnson's Welcome to America Adventure Update. I am Roger Johnson. I'm joined today by my identical twin brother, Rodney Johnson.
It's nice to be with you again.
Rodney's always here, but normally he's behind the camera. Last year we had you in front of the camera for one.
We did the Idaho, Bora Peak, tallest mountain in Idaho. Climbed that and talked about that.
And the focus of that video, that adventure update, was just the climb up Bora Peak. That was like only a third of the adventure. We drove out there and we had people with us, kids with us.
Dogs and cats and hamsters. And
so, no dogs. Our friend Candace, she came along with, her kids were staying out in Idaho for the summer, and so she came out with us, and then they drove back.
The schedule's all with us. It all worked. It
was Providence, apparently.
Can't go wrong with Providence.
So we had kids along with us, which was very cool. We had difficulties, though, too. We had 2 flat tires, one on the way out.
And I'm remembering. It was a fun trip, fun time, but we were like half an hour from the gas station that could change the tire closing, or the next gas station we went to, it was the only one within 20 miles, and the guy happened to be there and happened to have that tire
that we needed,
and we were able to get on the road. And then Providence is a good word.
Everything kind of worked out. And then when we were in Boise, just before we picked up the kids, we had the air conditioner pulley.
The serpentine belt.
That goes through, the serpentine belt goes through. It's the same thing, I think, almost exactly that happened on 50 States, 50 Days. And we caught it, and before it was too late, and destroyed the engine and my second engine. Brought that in and got it fixed.
I've only destroyed 2 engines in my career.
But it was a fun trip because, one, we had the kids and everything along, which was very different for me from just going by myself. Got a thank you card from Candace, K2, and the Road Warriors. They were fantastic. We both got one of these.
It's kind of interesting. Candace's youngest daughter, Lydia, is about the same age we were when we first went out to Idaho on this almost exact same trip. Out to Idaho and back, we saw, what did we see on that trip? And we were really little.
We were 1978, so we would have been 7 or 8, depending on exactly what time of the year.
Mount Rushmore, Badlands,
and Yellowstone.
Yep, and then family out in
Faithful,
Idaho.
And we saw family out in Idaho. And so it was neat, because I think that was the first big trip that we did that kind of sparked my, I'm going to go see all 50 states. That kind of a thing.
That was
I mean,
huge.
we did a few back then, but that was the first really big multi-state. And it's like, wow, okay, that inspired me to do all that I do.
And I barely remember it.
And you barely remember it. And then we managed to squeeze in some things that we didn't do on the 78 trip. We did Devil's Tower, and we'd been there once before, but we had a little bit more time. And again, with the kids there, and they're scrambling over rocks and all the fun stuff that you do.
We saw Mount Rushmore, and you and I have seen Mount Rushmore a dozen times. They saw it for the first time, and we got ambitious and left and went there, and we arrived like 10 minutes before they were going to shut the lights off. So it goes completely dark. And we would have saw it the next day, but so they got to see it, and there was not a single person there except for a forest ranger or park ranger. And he's like, "Yep, lights are going to shut off in 10 minutes," and we got to like.
And I've been there at midnight when the lights were off, and there's not much to
see. But so they got to see it. They had the place to themselves and seeing Mount Rushmore for the first time, and then we went back the next day.
Yeah,
and it was good that way too. But.
So we did that, and then we did the Custer, the Little Bighorn Battlefield National.
We have great video, so I have to mention the Badlands. We got to the Badlands right as the sun was setting.
That was
Walldrug
cool.
Is always good. So
we did that on our.
So there were some new things, some old things that we'd seen, some things that were new for them. But.
But then the Little Bighorn Battlefield, we saw that twice on this trip. Once on the way out before we picked up the kids and climbed the mountain, and then once on the way back. And so they got to see a little bit more got to see a little bit of it. And we had been there in 1995.
So we would have been 15.
I had to look at my graphic,
Yeah.
if that's correct. Well, no, we would have been 25.
So 25.
We were scouting
Oh.
that was our scouting trip out to Montana for Welcome to
Really?
Alaska. When we went
Okay.
to the Kootenai Mountains and west of Glacier and all that.
My memory of it, we were there for such a short period, and it was such a long time ago. And
We drove in, and there's the main monument
We have
where
a
Custer's
picture.
last stand.
we have a picture.
Yeah.
And that was back in the days of film, where you only took 24 exposures for an entire trip.
I think this was the trip. It could have been that California
I
trip.
think it might have been anyway. It was a long time ago, and the memory of it is so to go back again twice in this trip, latest one.
But yeah, the first time we just drove in, we saw the monument that's at the top of the ridge where Custer's last stand took place, where him and a large contingent of his men bought the farm, where they met their defeat, met their demise. This time, absolutely, we were there first thing in the morning, right as the sun was coming up. The rays were coming through the clouds.
My memory is the weather and the temperature, and the weather was perfect.
And the gates were
beautiful.
still closed and everything, but I think we were first in line, maybe second in line of cars waiting to get in.
Yeah.
I had my National Park pass, and we got to use that. And so we went in, but we got to drive in further than we had on our previous visit.
Take a little walk, and what were you the unique thing about this battlefield
Is-
which I learned things when I hang out with you.
You drive through, and any historic battlefield, Civil War, American Revolution, whatever, there'll be historic plaques saying this happened, and then a diagram of there's gravestones scattered throughout the battlefield, throughout along the park road that you drive through. Shortly after the battle, U.S. Army came back in. They buried the soldiers that had died there where they found them. Marked their graves and everything. A number of years later, they moved those bodies to a cemetery up on top of that ridge where Custer's last stand took place. They marked where the bodies were, and then several years later, they came back again and put stone markers in. Looked like grave markers that you would see at Arlington or in National Cemetery.
They look like cemetery markers, even though the bodies are.
And so
at the
it gives
cemetery.
you a perspective on the battlefield that you don't necessarily get anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because this is the only place that they've done that, at least in the United States, probably the world.
Well, yeah, because who thinks to
do that.
to mark?
And I don't know that it was a conscious decision. It was, well, here's where the bodies are.
Yeah,
We'll
we need
bury
to get them in the
but they
ground,
kept a
yeah.
record of it.
Yeah, and now more recently, because there were native, because there was two sides to a battle.
Yeah.
And so they and those are maybe not marked as accurately, or there may be some.
There's
missing.
not as they don't mark every native warrior that fell, but there are prominent native leaders from the Sioux and
There was a bunch of tribes that.
there were several tribes that were. I should know this before I go talk about it. I'll get angry emails.
We'll have to go back
But
to
what's-
Custer and learn some more.
But that's what this second time that we visited. The first time we were there was not a monument to the native peoples that were there, that fell, that fought and died. And so now there's a monument to them.
and that's when you were saying that it's history. History is what
Here's the facts.
happened. Here's the
what
facts,
happened, and then you
can
interpret it
and
how
hopefully
you see.
learn
And-
from it, and et cetera, et cetera.
But we were talking about Civil War battlefields. You go to Gettysburg, and here's the first Minnesota monument, and there's the South Carolina monument across on the other side, or Georgia,
And
Virginia
they were just
units.
as fiercely fighting against each other.
And so why not with the Native wars between the U.S. government and the Native Americans that were in the plains, and that whole conflict that took place that shaped America. And
It's something that happened.
and so you go there and
Yeah.
you see it. We then across the street, just outside the entrance.
Now I'm not necessarily a gift shop person, but that's an awesome gift shop.
That was a good gift shop.
and I wish
mean,
I had money to spend on
So-
gifts.
But
But you got a couple
didn't buy
things.
anything, but I bought a license plate, and it actually has the history of the battle, and it points out that very prominently that 22 is the designation on Montana license plates for Bighorn County, Little Bighorn River and the Bighorn River. And so that's my souvenir from the Custer Battlefield, which kind of got me started on my license plate collection.
The Custer Battlefield is down here, if you look at Montana.
As far as a map.
Yeah.
So it's
Anyway.
probably like where the B is. Anyway, look on a map, Google it.
Yeah.
So I got that, and then I got my little map of the battle, which was very good. That was at the actual, within the monument, official National Park Service.
And that's a
gift shop.
nice,
But
simplify and help you understand what happened.
yeah, and again, the National Park Service will show off their map again.
They never, they haven't changed, I think, in 20 years, and
It's
they
the
look
same
great.
basic layout for every national park, monument, battlefield, military park, whatever. And it's all you really need to know to get the basics of here's what you're seeing, here's where you're going. But the coolest thing that we found,
Did I make you buy that?
I don't know if you made me buy it, you might have pointed it out to me.
yeah.
This is a reproduction of the first written account of the Battle of Custer's Last Stand. It's a newspaper from Bismarck, North Dakota. What was cool about it, what struck us, is the Battle of Little Bighorn took place on June 25th, 1876. June 25th is our birthday.
1970.
1970, quite a few years later. But I think this was the first historic event where I said, oh, hey, that was our birthday. So when I saw this, it was printed, reported July 6th, 1876. July 6th happens to be our brother Mike's birthday.
Yeah.
I was just up in Alaska and I told him that, and he
Didn't care.
Didn't care.
Dates, whatever.
But so I thought that was neat, so I bought that, and then my license plate. So I'm expanding my license plate collection now. So it was a fun trip. It was a cool place to go
again,
back.
Idaho was a little sliver of it. The Little Bighorn was a little sliver of it. We haven't even, we touched on.
We touched on all the other stuff that we saw,
But
but that's how we roll.
nothing like an epic trip.
So. Speaking of collecting things, this Welcome to America Adventure Update was brought to you today by Roger Johnson's Welcome to America Passports. Go on to my website, welcometoamerica.us. There's a link on there, or else you can type in /passports. You can buy these. They're only $5. You get to check off all the states you've been into. Watch our commercial at the end of this. Also, our 50 States, 50 Days movie is now available online. Go to 50states50days.us. Go to the website, check out pictures, go to our YouTube page, go to our Facebook page. Cafe Press Gift Shop. I've said enough. So that's it for this adventure update. We will see you next time. Something else very cool. I'm Roger Johnson, the world's first self-proclaimed welcome sign photography expert. I've got a photo of myself next to a welcome sign in all 50 U.S. states and the District of Columbia. And if you don't believe me, I've got a certificate to prove it, which I do need to sign. But that's not the point. The point is, if you've got obsessive compulsive travel disorder like I do, also known as OCTD or the travel bug, you know how much fun it is to keep track of your travel. I've been to all 50 states at least 4 times or more, and I do know how much fun it is to keep meticulous records. I've taken welcome sign photos, I've built complicated websites, produced expensive, time-consuming, award-winning travel documentaries. I put stickers on my van. I've drawn on maps and on myself. It's too much. But now I've found a better way. The Roger Johnson's Welcome to America Passport. It's got the look and feel of a real passport. You can customize your passport with your name, personal information, photo, and signature on the information page. Pre-printed stamps for each state contain the date of statehood, as well as mottos, nicknames, landmarks, and symbols unique to each state. See? You can track your travels by coloring in the map in the back, as well as checking off each state and taking notes in the state checklist. So whether you're traveling by land, sea, or air, if it's your first state, your last, or somewhere in between, you too can track your travels with your very own Welcome to America passport. The Welcome to America passport is not an official document issued by any government agency. It is not required for travel anywhere in the United States, world, or known universe. It is strictly for fun as you track your own travels to all 50 United States and the District of Columbia. Buy yours today at welcometoamerica.us/passport. So if I figure I sell 2 million of these and I make $1 off of each one, I'll be a millionaire.